around until we know what we're supporting. So like I said, almost like maybe the first or second day, you start design from top, bottom, you build from bottom up. So they're kind of reversed processes. So once we have the floor plan, then we want to go and start developing how our roof is going to be. Now the roof plan we're going to put together is going to look just like, pretty much like this one. Okay? That's in your text. This is, I think, the second page, figure 22.3 of the chapter. Okay, so in essence, we're going to come in on this guy, and we won't finish it all today. I'm thinking that on Monday we'll try and tie it all together and get this done, but we'll get a long ways on it today. I got asked this question this morning, I'll just throw it out there. We've been doing a lot of talking lately and not enough drawing. So I'm going to chop us off this morning and get us some draw time, because at some point in time, you know, we've got to be able to produce drawings and we need time to do that. So I'm going to try and make sure we don't go past like 9:30. So anyway, let's review this drawing. First, when we get ready to put together a drawing, we don't need to know this right off the bat, but we should have a stab. What scale are we going to go to? Okay, the text recommends an 1/8 inch, because most of this information we will give for the roof is not real small or detailed. Okay? Remember, this drawing is meant to be read by a truss designer. Now, I think that having an 1/8 inch drawing just doesn't work well with the plan set for the most part. Okay? So like when we talked about this originally, don't hesitate to take this to a 1/4 inch. Now, do you need to? No, but you're helping the people visualize, right? If they're coming from a floor plan at a 1/4 inch, a foundation plan at a 1/4 inch, elevations at a 1/4 inch, and then all of a sudden they jump to a roof, they have a hard time making that spatial jump. Okay. So I wouldn't hesitate to go to a 1/4. In fact, I'm going to print mine at a 1/4, or at least that's the way I think I'm going to do it. Remember, you don't have to have that until you annotate. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to define our edges, ridges, and valleys. Okay, that's these big, thick, bold lines out here. Remember that these are very thick lines. So our border layer is set up with these properties. You may want to create another layer, call it roof, and give it a different color, but it should print 0.031 inches. Okay, that's totally up to you. I just use my border layer. Okay. We also need these hidden lines on here that shows our outside of our bearing for the roof. For us, that's what? It's our exterior walls. Now we do have one place that will be a little different, and that is we have a covered deck off the front. We haven't really put that roof on yet. We're going to start doing that today. And we will have something that's not an exterior wall carrying that roof, unless we can try and cantilever, which I think it's going to be too far out there to cantilever. So we will have these hidden lines on here. Our hidden layer works perfect for it, because they're hidden lines. Now we might want to create something different. We will have different truss zones. We are going to do a framing plan like this one is. Okay, now, for the most part, we have a vault or a scissor that occupies this part of the house, right? Over here. That's the living room, kitchen area. And I'm kind of visualizing the two houses as I look down on this. We have our center section, which has mostly a flat roof, right? Through our hallways, utility room, stairs, those areas. And then we have another scissor section where we are vaulting over the master and going flat over the master supplemental rooms, closets, bathrooms, those types of things. Okay, so I kind of envision right now we have those three. We also have a garage sitting out here. That's probably just a standard gable. If you remember the sketch that the client gave you, they had a standard gable over that. All right, so that's, in essence, that's what we're doing. Now, I've gone ahead, I want to show you the finished product on this roof. So here is pretty close to most of your finished products and what you're going to look at. I think you can see that pretty well. So you have your edges, here's your garage, gable ridge, here's the valleys where it joins into this gable. Okay, here we have a gable that stretches from here out over this. Here's the ridge line that runs the length of the house. Okay. And then here are the two sheds. We've got one over this little bump out. I know some of you don't have this bump out. You're not going to have this, but most of us do. And then we are going to cover this front deck, the front entryway, and that will be a shed type of look. Now, I think on this structure, we can actually take these sheds and build them into the truss, like here. Okay. Now, we're gonna have to do some different supports out here, like right out here. This is the deck coming off the front, and we aren't gonna get to where we can really define this until we build our deck. Because then that will tell us where our columns are gonna go, we can put an eave on it, we can get everything correct. And so that might change how this thing projects just a little bit at that point. Okay. So what I hope to do today is get this roof on, show the bearing of it, start breaking up my different areas for later addition. Okay. Any questions on where we're going? Okay, well, let's jump to it then. We do want to kind of go back and forth with our elevations why we do this, because that is going to tell us if we're right when we do this. Okay, so just real quickly okay, so here I've got all these drawn, but where are my little guys? Okay, so right now we should have a couple elevations, maybe one, but here are my 3 elevations I've got. And let me show you the projection so you can see which sides I have. You're going to like how this works, because we use the glass box when we drew these, right? Because these are in essence my front, left, right, rear views. Now when we set these up, one thing I kind of pointed out, you want to leave the ground line or the bottom and we just project it. Once I draw one, I do the other one, and I can project directly off of those. You want to make sure that lines up. So this bottom floor right here lines up with that floor, lines up with that floor. Okay. Do you need to take a second and make sure that's the case?
How many of those do we need to have drawn for this?
Today, just one. Okay. And I think you'll get the idea of what we're trying to do. I think we can build one roof off of this and get our heights and stuff. If you've got more, then that's fine too. But one, I think, is what we need. So you want to make sure they line up. So take one of these lines, either the finished ceiling, finished floor, and line them all up so that your Y dimension is the same throughout. Okay, we all okay? Can I move forward? Okay, all right, I'm going to assume I can. Now, the one thing that's nice about this is when we do it is you'll notice on this elevation right here where I'm looking into the back of the house, this is where I'm going to see that peak, right? Over the top of the house. So when I get to draw on that, in essence what I'm really going to have is I'm going to have a peak that I can show right here and draw it in. And we're going to build one of these today so you see how to do it. Now, once I have that, and I come to a side view, I see the inclined plane over here, right? So it's going to come up something like this off the sides. How high does it come? Well, I've got it right here. I just project that over, okay? And there's where it sits. Okay, so once you draw one roof, you don't need to draw it in any other view. You'll be able to project from it to get all of these other heights. Okay, I see my garage right here. Okay, again, I'll come down here and draw this in, okay, however it's going to be, and then I can project that everywhere. Okay, it's going to come in, it's going to show me where I meet this roof. Okay, it's going to show me all of these connections that I have. So that's why you'll kind of use these elevations. Now, once we get those drawn and projected in the elevations, we can then take those dimensions and go to our roof plan and say, is it really intersect here? And the two need to mesh. Okay? because they are really the same object, the same planes in different views. Okay? So in essence, we need to go back and forth with those. Okay, so we'll get to that here hopefully this morning. All right, to start the roof plan. In essence, what you need is the outside of your bearing. Where do we have that already? Let's take advantage of CAD. Do we need to draw this? No. What is it, Lisa?
We have a basic, a rectangle of our floor plan.
There it is, right here. This outside line around your floor plan. That's your outside of the bearing. We almost always in the residential try and not put interior bearing. We already talked about that because then you can't remodel the space, right? All right, so if you would, what you want to do, and now some people take the whole wall, and you're welcome to take the whole wall. In fact, I do. Here's my roof plan. You can kind of see I've got the whole wall width. Okay, but you really only have to have the outside line. So let's go in here, and I'll use the copy command, and I'm going to come around and grab my outside line all the way around the house. Now, I think you're going to want that front deck also, so you might as well bring it with you also, because we're going to need it going down the road. All right, and I'm just going to copy this off into some space. And put that on my hidden layer. Okay? So we're going to end up with something like this. Yes.
In my practice, it said that in that room, do you want that part of it?
Yeah, bring it all and you can trim it up later. Can you see that okay? Should I switch that to a white color? What's that?
I can see it, but it's pretty
Okay, well, let me switch the color on this stuff. You can see color 21 really well. Can you see? No, that doesn't look much better. I'll go back. You can see that probably the best, right? If you need help, raise your hand, I'll come help you. Yep, perfect.
So where that fits, it should be straight across here? No, you don't have that. That's not,
Yep, you'll need that. Because we'll put a separate roof over that, right? You're gonna like these, by the way. I mean, we've been almost 3 weeks doing a floor plan, right? And you're thinking probably, oh, this is a 6-week course and I've still got 9 drawings to go. Well, one
Yeah.
drawing for 3 weeks, that doesn't compute.
It's exactly what
In
I-
essence, once you get that floor plan, things start moving very quickly. We're gonna go much faster. It's kind of like when you build a home. You go and pour the foundation, and it seems like you get something that happens and it stalls for 2 months while you wait for the concrete, and then nothing happens. And then the framers show up, and a week later, we've got a house. And then it seems like it stalls again while electrical, plumbing, HVAC's all going in. And then the drywallers show up, and wham, all of a sudden, we got all our spaces. And it's kind of like that in the drawing process also. Are we all good here? Raise your hand if you need a little more time. Okay. All right, now the next thing we want to do is make sure we figure out what our eaves are going to do. Okay, because in essence, what we got, the edge of our roof is going to be on the outside of the eave, correct? Okay. For us, this is going to be approximately 18 inches. Now, depending on how you want to do this, you're going to want to sketch this out beforehand, and this is where an elevation can help you. We're not going to do it right now. We're just going to say we're going to go 18 inches. But it will affect the roof and the height a little bit. Let me just draw you a couple quick sketches. Okay. So if here's the top of my wall. Okay, now, when I run an eave, what do my trusses look like? Do I bring that truss board down on my truss and it looks like this where it's heading off? Okay? Like such, where I'm putting this board right on this outside edge. Okay? This is where a lot of people put them. Now, if I go 18 inches out, that's going to kind of drive the height of this, right? Then we can either come in and box this in for a look, or we can leave it open if we need to and protect the underneath. But we'll handle the soffit at a different time. Now, I can also, now this would be an 18 inch. Okay, from the top view, do I see this slope? No, I see an inclined plane, right? Now, in essence, you can also do these roofs differently, where maybe I bring it and I come out flat, and then my trusses take off this way, like such, right off the top of the wall. Okay. And I'll put another little truss right there. Now, notice that the change in height, I didn't kind of draw them on the same level, but this roof is obviously going to be lower in the peak and the eaves than this one would. Now, which way do you want to build these? I would recommend, whenever you're dealing with them, if they are worried about their power bills, go with this one. Okay. Now, the studies have shown that approximately 40% of all air infiltration that comes into a house comes from two places. Okay. It either comes in right here, or it comes in through the floor, where the floor and the floor joists are. Now, those are two weak spots on our insulating cavity. So if you do this one right here, how does that stop? It stops a tremendous amount, because now I can insulate out into this area. Let me try and draw an insulation symbol. Boy, that looks like yeah, looks like a ghost or something. But the point being, I can now take this insulation and get it out over this cavity, right? On this one, can I insulate out here? No, this is 3 inches, 3.5 inches. I can't insulate that. And in fact, I don't want to insulate it everywhere, because remember, we got to vent this roof. And I want air coming through to take care of this attic space so I don't get humidity. On this one, I can insulate it and still bring air around it, okay, to keep my attic safe. This, in my opinion, is a preferred way to do it. Now, the problem with that is we're bumping that roof up in the air. And it's going to be a more dominant feature on how the house looks. Okay. So, which way do you guys want to go?
Right.
What is the height of that section above the column where the air comes through?
Right here?
Uh-huh.
This would be the bottom plate of the truss, and it's usually a 2x4. Okay, so what you're seeing here is 3.5 inches.
Those are like a 18 inches almost.
Typically 1 foot is what we need, because we're going to have 10 inches of insulation in there minimum by code. Because we got to go to an R38, right? That's 10 inches of blow-in. So if we give it a foot, then we get that 10 inches of insulation over it, and we still got 2 inches for bringing air through there. So most of the time I put in what I call a 1 foot energy heel. And that's what we call it. Now, a roofing term, heel height, is the distance from the bottom plate to the bottom of the top cord. That's what we call heel height. Now, we'll get into that when we draw it.
So we should probably do that, because that's most preferred. If you're going to design something for somebody, if they want efficiency, we should be doing that roof anyway.
I believe so. You know, it comes back to that whole lead thing where I kind of said, you know, this lead isn't really something, you should build to it whether you're going to get LEED certified or not, because it's a more efficient way to build. And the performance of the building is better down the road, right?
So this is the way to lead.
Yeah, lead would give you a lot of points for that one right there, that I just erased. All right, now that's not gonna affect this view, but let's figure we're gonna put a 1-foot energy heel on this thing. Now let's go ahead and put our gables on here. So in essence, first we wanna start with our big roofs. We've got a gable that runs this way on this roof. Okay, we're gonna put an 18-inch heel on it, or an 18-inch eave. So all we do is take this outside line, and we're gonna offset it out 18 inches all the way around. I'm gonna do an offset of 18, or 1 foot, 6 inches, and I'm gonna offset that out. Now, like I told you, I use the border layer for this. So you'll want to switch these lines to the border layer. And then take a moment, do a little bit of extending so that you've got a rectangle. Okay. And again, I don't know that you can really see that, so I'll change the color of my border layer. By the way, we're in essence following the examples in chapter 23. Juan, you good? Cheryl, you good? Okay, move forward. Okay, so we're a gable, right? Okay, gable. We in essence have two sheds that meet in the middle. They have a ridge line. We've now got the edge completed, we need to put the ridge line in. Okay, where is the ridge line going to be? Directly in the middle. So let's go ahead and draw that in. And your midpoint snap works great on this. There's your first roof. We just built it. A little easier for us to build it than the guy stacking trusses. Okay, so you should have that line right in the middle. Once you have that, okay, let's now go to the garage and do the same thing. Now the garage is a 24 by 24 block, right? Does it matter if we have the gable ridge running this way or this way? And which way did your client ask for it to run? Your client asked for it running this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me throw this out there. What happens if I run it this way? Do I have any problems?
All the water will run into the house.
Good, you guys are starting to visualize this in 3D then. Because if I've got a slope coming down and a slope coming down, things gotta fill with snow, I'm gonna get ice dams, I'm gonna do all kinds of weird things here, right? We would then have to put something like a cricket in to take care of that, which would be a false roof to shed that water. So yeah, we're gonna switch it this way, that way we do not create a valley in there that can hold water and ice. Okay, so again, you're doing your 18-inch. Now you only have to do 3 sides here. Okay, so I'll do my offset of 18, and I'm doing these 3 sides right here. And then join them all together, so you get another rectangle. Okay, so is it okay to move forward? So I'm in your text figure 2221 where they give us the bird's eye view, or the